All right, hey folks, we're going to continue working on monster token art for the upcoming adventure that we're creating for the Eberron campaign setting using D&D 5e. Crystals of Mabar, set in Karnath inside of a manifest zone to Mabar. Level 8 characters. So hold on real quick. I'm going to go through, and I want to go make sure my signal's up and running, and then we'll go through an intro real quick, and then we'll keep getting to work on this guy this morning. So let's see where we are at this morning. There we go. Everything's going right. I should be coming through. Mic check 1 2 3. There we go. Everything's going right. I should be coming. Yep. 2 3. Sounds like I'm coming through A-OK. Number 1 2 3. All right, cool. So I'm going to go through just a quick intro here while I press buttons across the internet to distract everyone from the fact that I'm pressing buttons across the internet. So hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing game supplements. I illustrate them and publish them online. And right now, I have been focusing my attention on Eberron Adventure and Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. I've been building content for 5e since the release of Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica in 2017. I'm a big color mana enthusiast for Magic the Gathering, so I thought that would be an opportunity for Wizards to... they used to dive into ideas. When they come up with a new setting, they come up with new mechanics to complement and distinguish that setting from other settings. But the 5e philosophy is to use the core rules and have ideas curl into the core book. Instead of expanding the core book to have more rules, they simplify other systems to match the rules that exist inside of the core mechanics. It's certainly a business decision, but it's not what we've seen D&D do for the past 50 years. D&D expands out with new systems and new ways to approach the game and incorporate new mechanics into D&D instead of simplifying mechanics. It's the D20 system is already a very simple chassis, so it gives you opportunity to tack on additional systems into it, which is what I think people were excited about. And when that didn't happen, I went and decided to make my own color mana system, and that's linked down below along with a bunch of other books. But Eberron has always been my home setting since basically its release in 2000-something in 3rd edition. It's an absolute fantastic setting, and I'm proud to be at a point in my development that I can actually create adventures now. So this is really exciting for me. If this stuff is interesting to you, I just posted that I'm live on Twitter. You can follow me on the Twitter X platform at Phil Kearney if you're still on there. Best way to support the channel, honestly, is like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications when I'm live in the future. The full playlist, all 200 episodes prior to now, are in the full playlist here. And we are continuing to build this. Our editor is Stuart Braz, and Andy Headley is my co-writer. And I hope everyone enjoys it. Here's the cover that we created back around episode 40 that you can check in the jump back. So check it out. We're making an assassin vine today. So we did the tree and the bark yesterday, and where are we at right now? Cool. We've got a 20-minute timer going to make sure I stay on course, and I've got about 80 minutes this morning. I'm still working on the spelljammer supplement, spelljammer combat and exploration. That is something that we were working on earlier. And so I'm going to be splitting time between Eberron and finishing the Spelljammer supplement. I'm expecting that to be published by the 27th. I think that's probably going to be a good day. I happen to have the 27th off, so I'll be able to build and caretake the thing properly. So you can keep an eye out for that when it happens. Let's see. So, yeah, we're going to continue working here now. We have image sample here. I'm going to flip these. Let's just grab some base tone and then we'll come back for the highlights here in a bit. That feels like a good base tone. We'll go with that. Shout out to 3rd edition artwork. Let's drop the opacity on that. just a bit to see what do I need to do here. I want to lighten that up to keep it from being in the way as well. Fine. There we go. This should be good. So now I can start building. Oh my, that just happens to be the exact same color of gray that I chose for this piece. I'm really gonna have to drop these down. So I stream 6 days. I stream 6 days a week and typically post a video on Sundays. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It's been all the videos I've been creating lately have been spelljammer related. So Monday through Friday in the morning like this, I create token art or whatever asset is needed at the moment. Like when we finish this this slew of creature tokens, these are all random. Random encounter options, like the Assassin Vine and Trees, or like the Wraiths, or whatever. Various creatures. They're either random encounters or in set side quests and keyed encounters inside the various dungeons. So we're just basically fleshing out all of the monsters, and then we're going to have NPCs as well as a separate stack, and we're going to include the mercenaries with the NPCs, even though they're technically monsters. Almost all the maps for the dungeons are done. Well, the maps for the dungeons are done, but we have the little vignette maps that we're building for random encounter locations, like the Rotten Forest and the Dilapidated Gazebo, the Collapsed Shack, a Forest Meadow. There's a couple different locations that we're building, which are just by themselves pretty useful. Little standalone vignette maps, both color and black and white for easy printing. And when I make things, I always do them in strict black as well as color. So the black, like the black ink style, works well with laser printers, so that you can print out the assets to be able to use at your tabletop without having to exhaust your color cartridge, which is super annoying to do. But I always play in virtual tabletop, so I create tokens in color because color is useful. It certainly costs time. When the Eberron Spelljammer Orbital campaign, when I build that out into a supplement, I might explore just doing line art and sketching to make it a looser, faster build. Publishing stuff on the DMsGuild has pretty much locked me into the mentality of it has to be in color or it's inferior. But outside of the DMsGuild game space, that's hardly ever true. The assets packet that Wizards provides of all the monsters that are like literally from the monster manual makes a compelling argument about using color, because they make it available. And if I'm not going to use the actual tokens they provide in my product, then I should. That's a personal decision that I made that I didn't have to. I could have had color tokens instead of black and white. So that's what's got me kind of locked in on color. Plus, I love painting in color. It's so much fun. And when you don't see any color, it's just a big accomplishment. So it's something it's difficult for me to give that up because of the amount of pride that I have and having figured out how to do this, but that's not really what's important. My council of friends are compelling me to consider whether or not color is actually helping my goal of getting work produced and out there for people to play with, as opposed to, like, what do I want to do? Do I want this to be an art stream, or am I a game creator? And I'm having a hard time reconciling that. I want to say, why not both? And there's certainly, I mean, it's cute to say that, but I don't honestly know. I'm gonna make another layer. Actually, a separate layer here that I can weave these together without having to necessarily screw up one vine to fix the other. Such is the way of intercepting paths. This third one here, I want to develop that asset separately. I know I could probably just like hit like, you know, select all fill, but that's not. The more I the more I automate the process of creating the artwork, the less connected I am with it. The less I have, the less emotional investment I have in it. So I like to do as much manually as reasonable. I mean, I can do a select fill, you know, but it's like if this is like a gradient plane, like if I was going to put a gradient in the background of the whole page. So sometimes I'll do it manually, sometimes I'll just automate it. I guess it just depends on where I'm at and what I'm feeling. No rules, no specific rules. That's rule number one. That. And it takes a little bit longer to do it this way, but really, if you haven't seen the spelljammer video that I did last night about building the navigation bar, it's in, obviously it's on my channel feed. You can check that out, or you can look at my Twitter if you're interested. But it was figuring out how to create transparent buttons that are hyperlinking from one part of the document to the next that I can now use integrated into illustrations, so you can click on different pieces of the illustration. Kind of like those mystery games online where you're looking for clues by clicking buttons and stuff. Like, it's oh, my eyes are burning. It must be time for coffee. Back off for a second. But yeah, that's some hot tech, man. I can do literally anything with that. So one of the fun things that I can do is, like, once we start building a dungeon, right, we have a page here of the PDF, and we have a page here of the PDF, and we have a page here of the PDF. And if we put our map here, oh my god, this analogy is already a train wreck. Let's make these big enough to actually be able to do what I want to do. There. Okay, so here's a page. Let's make that a little bit bigger here to help demonstrate what we're trying to do. So on, like, here we have a dungeon, right? And we got blah blah blah, and then we got squibbly here, and we got blah blah blah. It's a page in a PDF, right? So we have room 1, and then we have room 2, and then we have room 3, and then we have room 4. So here we'd have on one page room 1, and then a couple pages later here we'd have room 4. With the hyperlink tech, is I can have this map here on the page, and when you roll over any of these rooms, you can click on it, and it will automatically bounce you to that page. And then we can have an icon at the corner of that room that when you click that, it takes you back to the main page. And so if you click this button, that'll take you to this page, and this will also have that little icon in the corner that will take you back to the page. So we can use the main map as a table of content inside of the dungeon space itself. So the DM is constantly referring back to the main dungeon map and using that to bounce back and forth inside of the document instead of having to get lost inside of page turning. I can make it easy and fast for you to be able to navigate back and forth. And then inside the adventure itself, there's 3 acts. So we can have the framework of the dungeon here, of the 3 acts and how they play together. And then, like, here's your intro here, and then here's Act 1, here's Act 2, and here's Act 3. So you click on this, it'll bounce you to number 1 here, and then you got number 2 here, and you have Act 3 here. And inside each act, inside Act 2, there's 3 different dungeons inside Act 2 that you'd then be able to also bounce to the 3 of them. To be able to navigate back and forth inside the document by having visual mapping representations to physically take you to that location of the PDF where that map is appearing. So it's a nice piece of tech, and now that I know how to make it work properly, we can do really, really pretty things with it. So I am ever so very looking forward to doing that. That's on the near horizon for us. Once we get through, once the Spelljammer book publishes next week, we'll be able to use all of that design attention instead now on the Eberron adventure and keep moving that forward. So what's my plan going to be? Since we shifted gears here, now we're back to doing Eberron in the mornings. I'm still building the Spelljammer book, but we're pretty much done with the art side of it. We're just doing construction, assembly work now. Putting all the art into position and making sure that the text lines up. Pretty, from the engagement metrics I get from YouTube here, that's less exciting than watching me actually produce the artwork that is being assembled. So since I'm basically done with Eberron, with Spelljammer art production, I decided to shift back to doing Eberron art because this is a more active engagement. So if you think that's true, definitely give me a thumbs up and like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to keep notifications coming your way. Because as I said, I stream 6 days a week, Monday through Friday in the morning like this. I'm fixing my chair. I'll be right back. Here we go. All right, so Monday through Friday in the morning like this, we're doing Eberron creature art or maps, and I've got a runny nose. Oh man, what a tragic morning. All the oil in my eye is killing me. Saturday morning is my workbench where I generally just do whatever I want to do. That's also when I work on commissions. I've got, I think I've got a crow painting I'm going to be doing in March. So I don't know all the details yet, so stay tuned for that. But I'll be doing some, I guess, some landscape and animal painting. And so that'll be fun. That'll be a nice change of pace. But otherwise, I just do whatever strikes my fancy. And so that's Saturday morning. Lunch times, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. Sometimes Wednesdays instead of Tuesdays, but typically Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays is my game development bench. Right now, we've been developing the Eberron Spelljammer Asteroid Orbit Campaign toolkit with all the character creation and task resolution and how to get the mining operation active as a passive, like as downtime activities, so it doesn't consume the team's time, because they're not particularly interested. They flat out said, we're not really interested in mining asteroids, so we had to boil it down to a single ability score check, basically, to prospect and extract ore from an asteroid field. So it's only a 2 die, like they only have to roll 2 dice. Prospecting and then extracting wealth. Prospecting to find out what's out there, and then they choose which resources, like if there's a variable, like you don't have enough to do both, but you could work on the silver mine. Like there's 12% materials in this asteroid is silver, and this asteroid over here is 90% copper. Which one do you want to work on? And they can just choose which one they want to do, make the die roll. There was a single die roll to determine what type of ore is in their near orbit, and then it's just another die roll to determine how much of the ore they're able to extract from it. And that was a very, very fun process to go through the math rocking of that. So if you haven't seen that, check it out. That's pretty fun. That's my lunchtime stream. And once the Eberron campaign is built and finished, we'll go back to designing the Ravnica Rubble Belt campaign to set up the playtesting for the Martial Power System that we've been developing on stream for the past year. In the evenings, Mondays and Thursday nights, including last night, is my second production channel, or my second program of production. Eberron was doing that in the evenings while we were working on Spelljammer, but now that the Spelljammer supplement is out of art production and we're in assembly work, Mondays and Thursday nights we're basically showing the different pieces of assembly work, just so folks have an idea of like, how do you build a PDF? Well, here's an example. But once that's finished, then that becomes our secondary project window, which will be probably something else for Spelljammer. It could be I don't know what people are more interested in, so I'll be doing a vote on my Patreon. Patron members that are paying members can have a vote there. And I might open it up to the Discord channel as well, so patrons would, members of the Patreon, paying members of Patreon would have more votes than open membership on Discord. But I think I'll probably put a poll out to see which book folks want me to build next, whether it's Mecha, the Living Ship, Sidekick Supplement, or one of the or like the mega structure maps, like the Elven Monarch or the Ogre Mammoth or the Dwarven Citadel. These are all 500-foot structures that are huge compared to the other ships that are offered in the Spelljammer supplement. So I think they're worth doing. There, we have those all weaved together very, very nicely now. Let's go back to generic. It'll probably be mecha. I think I'm gonna do mecha, then sidekicks, and then the larger maps, the superstructures, super ships, mega ships. Don't have a word for it yet. And we'll be playtesting the Eberron Asteroid Belt campaign on my home table probably for at least a year or so. But if after a couple months, it's we've fleshed it out to the point where it's a viable piece of narrative that the team, if the team is enjoying it, then I'll put out a playtest piece for people to mess around with, and then build a Kickstarter out of it, and then probably make that my first sketch art book. I'll have to file off the serial numbers and change the names of stuff, but it's my home table, my home Eberron campaign has been a space opera since I want to say since 2010. That feels about right. You wouldn't know. I don't know why I'm asking you. But I've been blending Spelljammer, Planescape, and Eberron since before it was cool. Regardless of the unique planar system that orbits the world of Eberron, to me that's like a subsection, like demi-planes or pocket dimensions in comparison to the vastness of the Great Wheel. It's like you can have both. You can have both the Great Wheel and the Eberron orbiting planar model, and the fourth edition elemental chaos system. All of those work together. You don't have to separate them from each other. It's just a matter of, since the space is infinite, you can play in Mabar and never worry about the Shadowfell. Although I would say the Shadowfell is like a link to Mabar. I'm sure Keith has said a lot of stuff about that, and there's Keith purists, I'm sure, would have a comment or two in disagreement with my approach to stuff. But as Keith says, it's your Eberron. Make it the way that you want to. And if the ideas I have about how to run Eberron or how I narrate things, they resonate with you, then certainly be welcome to tag along. But yeah, my Eberron setting's been basically a space opera campaign for a while now. Because I've always been both a Planescape and a Spelljammer junkie, and having them work together. Basically, 4th edition helped clarify the narrative language about Spelljammer in the Planes through the Astral Sea compendium that they put out. And they also had this concept called the Elemental Storm, which is what they used to, which is what replaced the interplanar system from second and third edition, third edition forward, third edition and back, and they haven't really addressed it, I don't think, much in 5th edition. No, they brought back the interplanes, but so you have the radiant, positive energy, negative energy, and then you have earth, air. How do I do this? Earth, air, fire, and water, right? So you have these 6 different planes that represent the different types of elements. The 4 base elements, and then positive and negative energy, right? So it basically forms a cube here with each plane facing, but there's the core in the middle. It's the middle that isn't accounted for in the interplane model. It's a void in the interplanar model. Well, 4th edition feeds that in by making the elemental storm. This is where all the elements feed into the core of the storm, and that storm is what creates planes of existence or material planes, in my philosophy anyway. And this is a completely different engine from the Outer Wheel. And then the Outer Wheel is like Eberron can have access to both the inner plane storm system as well as the outer planar system, but then a subset of the outer planar system is the orbiting planes that they have. And like, say, Mabar, you'd have the Shadowfell, and then you have the Ethereal. The Ethereal will take you to the inner planes. The Shadowfell takes, and then you have Astral, right? And then the Astral encompasses all that stuff. So Astral can go to anything. It's the default method of getting to the outer planes. But that Astral also can lead you to the orbiting planes of Eberron specifically, and then like the Shadowfell can also lead you to Mabar, for instance. So all these things can be connected, and just because people in Eberron specifically pay attention to the orbiting planes around them doesn't mean that the Great Wheel and the inner planes don't exist. It just means that they don't frame reference of reality around the Great Wheel and the inner plane conflict. They frame it around the planes unique to their world as they narrate it, which are basically subsets of the inner and outer planes. So they can both all coincide and exist with each other. You just have to understand your frame of reference and how you're narrating things. So that means Planescape and Spelljammer are perfectly viable for your Eberron campaign. It's just a matter of what level of awareness does your characters and the NPCs that they're working with have of the different states of reality for the team to adventure into. But like Infernia becomes a different battleground for angels and demons as opposed to like on Avernus or in Limbo or whatever. It's just a reframe of state of conflict in the larger planar reality sense. That feels pretty good. I think we'll grab over here. We can. The reason why I'm doing this, I'm playing outside the lines because I can use the curvature of the object that the vines are wrapping around to create additional key, like little signatures of volume, right? By having this curl around organically around this this branch, it adds a ropey sort of vibe, if you would, to how this vine is interacting with its environment. It's that increasing and decreasing size as it curls around the surface that helps sell the volume of the branch itself. It becomes a subtle, because your eye just automatically picks up on that depth perception being simulated by the art. And that helps, like the properties of the branch are being informed by how the vine interacts with that particular object. Hopefully that's not too wordy. Like this is a straight drop here. It should actually be more like this. A little bit of kick, you know, like just a little bit of curve going into it. A little bit of pepper. Put a little pepper on it. There we go. There we go. Oops. Yeah, that feels good. And let's see. Cool. I can afford to have these objects interacting. Basically like that. Let's drop the opacity on these here real quick to make sure that this object's curling around correctly. There we go. Hey, Karen, how you doing? Good to see you. Curl that around. That feels pretty organic. I like it. Let's see. So that would be this space as well here. I've got three different ropes going on here. I'm trying keep all my lines in order. Trying to get right on. Fair enough. Yeah, I had a fantastic holiday yesterday myself. Very fortunate to be in a union in my day job that allows me plenty of vacation and holiday time. I work in marketing as my day gig. I won't bore you with the details. I do cost analysis and stuff like that. Number crunchy sort of stuff. Like that. Very, very nicely. So I'm going through this process of building all these chords, and once those are done, then we'll be able to do the highlights and the shadows like we did with the bone armor yesterday. Day before, or whatever. However long ago that was, time has no meaning here. This is, I believe, how I want to represent that. Yeah. Fair enough. Looks like that's where it's feeding into here. There we go. Getting correct continuing lines like mine, etc. It looks so, and they'll figure it out eventually. I gotta say, as far as AI goes, you know, it will become standard practice for folks to use that stuff, and I'm going to be all for it. If they can get to a point where they can have a general intelligence be able to look at my art specifically and then help to reproduce things the way that I would reproduce them specifically, I'd be fine with that. And like it'd be like Phil's filler tools, you know, like texture this tree like this, like put in some texturing over here and then say run it, and then it just proliferates that pattern. I'd be okay with that because it would be rendering detail off of a pattern that I created. It's just that where we're at in the industry right now is the tech can't get done without stealing it from someone else first. And I think the funny irony of it is that these people that are learning how to create these prompts to create this artwork are attempting to conceal what their prompts are because they want to monetize their productions. Like, that is the biggest hypocrisy ever. Like, we want free access to your art so that I can make money off of your work, not you. It's like I would not mind the AI advocates nearly as much if all of them agreed that what they're doing is open source, and that they're teaching their machines off of somebody else's efforts, and and not try to claim that any of this stuff is their own effort. That's the real. It's the hypocrisy of it that rubs me so wrong. Otherwise, I love the idea of it. If it was being done with integrity, then I'd be all for it. It's just the people that are developing this stuff I seem unethical by nature. So that's my only stink against it. Like total truth there. How do I resolve this? Okay, that's where that branch is actually sitting. This is where that's coming from. Like, I'd love to be able to make a sketch and just tell the computer to color that for me. And it knows how I color things and how I do. But then that kind of freezes me in time. Like, if I'm not putting in the hours to continue painting, how am I supposed to discover a new method of painting? If I like I was talking earlier, like most of the time I'll hand render a gradient from like a color wash from top to bottom. I'll do that myself. Sometimes I'll use a gradient filter to help smooth it out, but I generally attempt to do it manually first because I want to develop that subtlety of shift and balance. Like, that's a skill set that I need to develop for myself, that the more often I use a computer to render it for me is the less opportunity I have to learn how to do that stuff myself. And that learning how to do it is what creates understanding in the first place. And that's really what the AI process of art is cheating would-be artists from, is understanding the underlying principles that made that AI rendering art look good in the first place. Like, if you don't understand how the composition or the elements are fitting together to create good-looking art in the first place, what are you doing? Because you're not progressing art skill. You're just reiterating somebody else's skill. You're not creating anything new. You're just regurgitating what already exists. And that's, I think, my biggest problem with AI. So I'm like, I would love to have an AI that is completely curated and trained as my sidekick to help me render details. But every time I do that, I lose the opportunity to get faster and better. Here's the thing: artwork kind of the art process. How do I word it? It doesn't. It increases things exponentially, not linearly. Like, if I get better at creating forests, it doesn't just improve my ability to make forests. It also improves my ability to create patterns, to render structures in a faster manner. And so I want to invest the time in creating different stuff myself, because every time I do that, it rounds out my ability to create and see details and to build a stronger composition on top of just rendering high what's the word I'm looking for? High detail, near photorealism. Like I don't do art to be photorealistic. I do art because of the style and the energy and the ideas that I'm putting to the piece. But I want them to be rendered from my perspective, the way that I'm perceiving the situation. Because the problem with AI art is that you tell it to do a thing, and then you either accept it as good enough or you do it again. So you aren't actually able to really visualize and materialize whatever it is that you're creating, you know, if that makes any sense. This is where I'm at right now. This is what I've done. This is where we're going. Cool. I don't think I'm saying anything new here that I haven't said before. Yeah, the more time goes on, the more comfortable I am with just being okay with other people doing AI stuff, whatever. It doesn't really, that's not really the race that I'm running. Let's knock this thing down. Well, hey, how you doing? Eris, I don't think I know you. Welcome to the mix. Yeah, we're building stuff here. The Assassin Vine is a predatory plant in the Dungeons and Dragons game, and I like painting them. Where am I at? I've got these 3 different channels that I'm running here. I feel like this is probably the best one to work with. Am I linking these two here? Did that just happen? I don't think that was my intention. I think I wanted to do this. The greatest joy about being both an artist and a game producer is that how much I can be precise about what it is that I'm expressing, even though I go through the same creative processes that the AI does of starting with a vague idea and then rendering more details to clarify what it is that I'm thinking about. But that's a skill set that I've developed myself over 20,000 hours worth of artwork. So I watch what AI is doing, like how it's rendering details, and it makes me laugh because that's the same process that I go through, except that my brain is a meat machine as opposed to a silicon machine. So I get to enjoy the irony that I've been basically rendering like AI since forever. You don't see it here right now because now this is how I render details. But if you go and you check out all the previous streams that I've done earlier in this series, like if you go back to the Creature Token, we're on episode 31 of Creature Tokens right now. If you go back into the full playlist here and go find like Creature Tokens 1, 2, and 3, you'll see me going through that ideation phase of doing random lines sketching and having that manifest from a cloud of pixels into the specific form that we're building, sometimes with nothing more than a prompt myself of like, I want to make an undead warrior. Like that's the prompt that I'm starting with, and then we finished the details of that yesterday for the Bone Knight. So like I don't have much difference in my own creative process than AI does in rendering stuff other than what, order of processes. Is this where we're at now? I feel like, is there anything that I missed? No, I don't think so. Cool. Okay, so there's that, and now we can pull the tree back up. There you go. Here's our tree. Again, this is only 300 pixels. This is a 300 by 300 pixel space that we're operating inside of right now. Let's see. Pull that bit into here. That's a little. Make sure all this stuff meshes together properly. There we go. Cool. Okay, so now that we have the tree rendering down, I can go back through. We're going to drop the opacity on this again to help make sure that the assassin vine itself stands out more. But now that we have these all, I can put those into the same group. I can duplicate the group, and then I'll merge that group down so that the whole group is a single layer that I can manipulate together, and I can do so. Now I can go in and let's see, vine base. Now we can go back to our reference image, and we can grab highlights and shadow. Since I don't see any color, I use my RGB gauge up here to be able to see what kind of, I can tell this is darker than this is because I can see the difference in value here, but I don't actually see the hue, the color of it, the RGB of it. All I see is the gray. So I'm constantly using like Magic the Gathering or like cryptids or pinup art or D&D artwork for my color referencing, that I can then extract the color. Like earlier when we started coloring these vines, you saw me come through and I grabbed a color like down around here, which is kind of like a neutral color in comparison to these highlights. But when you don't see any color, this is how you can create solutions for yourself. Here's the highlight, here's the shadow. So you can see highlight and then mid-tone and then shadow. You can see how the RGB bar up here in the upper right hand corner bounces from light to dark like that. That's what I use as my base form of reference. Now I recognize this is a very static, no change in, like the saturation isn't changing. The intensity of RGB in comparison to each other isn't changing, even though the value is changing. So this is not using any kind of atmospheric perspective or changing in the material. It's very static in form. So when we go back through and render final details, I can consider whether or not I need to implement a fading effect so that the color washes out in the background more. Sometimes I do that with like the larger pieces, like environmental pieces, where there's a lot of distance inside of the piece from the foreground to the background, where that atmospheric the disruption of color signal from atmosphere being in the way. That's what atmospheric perspective means. So we'll see how I need to if I need to address that, because this is all kind of foreground, very close up. There's the token of the vines themselves is the point of the illustration, and I'm just using rendering on the tree to help ground the vine in in real space. If the texture and the look of the tree feels real, then that helps make the thing that's on the tree more real. Also, there's less of a jump in logic to you to get to where this vine is a thing. So anyway, having said that, let's drop that there, and then we'll make a new layer where we'll drop this here, and we're just going to leave those two colors hanging out. And let's see what we can do. So I don't have to really worry. See, what I can do here is I can use the shade of the tree and the shade of other parts of vine. See, I can then select inverse and delete. See, that gets rid of that part that was overlapping the branch. So I can use just the basic selection tool process of Photoshop to be able to I don't have to color between the lines. In the end, I'll be able to use the selection process to clip out anything that isn't coloring between the lines. So I can be more bold and aggressive with how I render my shading details here, knowing that the tools of selection process will help make sure everything parses out in the final rendering. There's some word salad for you. Enjoy. If you know all these terms, I swear that statement just made a lot of sense. What time is it? 7:40. Okay, so we still have. Yeah, my timer's about to pop in about a minute now, and then I'll be on my last 20-minute kick for the day. I run in 20-minute sprints to make sure that I'm not diving down a rabbit hole either in conversation or and mincing on details when I don't need to. That 20-minute timer helps me reassess exactly where am I at in my process, and am I using my time correctly while I'm here. I'm gonna snooze that. There, last 20 minutes already go. I have a rare alarm set for my day job. So I had honestly forgotten I had set, so glad that happened. I don't like thinking about the day job when I'm painting. I paint to escape the day job. And it is what it is. So we're going to just render these details, and then once we start running into conflict, we'll create a new layer to paint more details on, just like we created multiple layers to paint the base looping vines onto each other. We'll do so the same here for rendering highlights and shadow. It's a process. We're going through a process here together, folks. So for now, we're just making very generic light, like little worms, basically, little tubes. That will then render texture details on top of. feels like that should be over. And then tucking into that curve there. Did I just stick out my tongue concentrating? Oh my god, I am a walking meme. This will end up being behind that branch. So I feel okay rendering these details like this for now. Again, we'll use that selecting process to help trim this into proper form. Same here, this goes behind this branch, but I don't have to worry about that right now. Right now, all I'm worried about is getting the lighting right for the curvatures. We'll be back tomorrow to work on this some more. As we're now doing the Eberron project in the morning. So we do Spelljammer on Mondays and Thursday nights, and it'll be publishing on the 27th next week, a week from today. That feels correct. So I'm sticking with that for now. We're running out of stuff to do, and that Spelljammer book's running out of tasks. Once it's out of tasks, it publishes. So we're getting down to the nitty gritty of it. Drop this in the shadow here. Something's starting to pound in my brain that I should be wrapping up. I don't know what's going on my home front, but my muse is telling me to wrap it up. So even though I'm supposed to have another 15 minutes this morning, for whatever reason, I am being alerted that I'm going to want to stop very, very soon. And I've spent a lifetime attempting to listen to that inner voice to tell me what to do. So, always listen to the muse. Yep. So, I think... where did that go? Why did that disappear? Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and let it go. We're going to stop now. For whatever reason, I'm supposed to stop. So I'm just going to go ahead and listen to that inner voice and cut stream here. We're going to be back tomorrow. We'll continue rendering this out. I'll be back at lunch today in about, if everything goes according to plan, I'll be back in about a little more than 5 hours from now to continue working on the Eberron Spelljammer Asteroid Mining Belt campaign that I'm running for my home team. And we're getting close to done with that too. So that'll be in about 5-ish hours, 5+ hours. For anyone that's interested, swing through and check that stuff out. The video from last night for the Spelljammer art processing, we built out the navigation bar at the bottom of the page to show how you can bounce around inside the document from point to point by clicking on different things. That works. We built a demo of that last night, which I'm super excited about. And we'll be back to show off more of that on Thursday night. So we'll do this Monday through Friday, lunch stream tonight, and then lunch stream at lunch today, and then on Friday. And then on Saturday morning, I'll be at my workbench, probably working on more Spelljammer stuff, whatever it is that we're working on, like maybe building out the Laser Axis conversion guide, who knows. But we got more stuff on the plate, so if any of this stuff is interesting to anyone that's out there listening, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notifications in the future. Show up, hang out, have fun, ask me anything, and thanks a lot, Karen. Thanks a lot. I'm going to guess that's pronounced Ariz, so I'm horrible with letters. But I appreciate you guys being here. So I'll see you on the other side. Thanks a lot.